A ballerina suffers a severe injury, putting her career at risk, but she discovers something unexpected that could change everything. Have you ever believed that a tragedy could be the best thing to happen in someone's life? Imagine a professional ballerina at the peak of her career, suddenly brought down by a devastating injury. It sounds like the end, right? But what if I told you that this same injury led Grace to discover strengths she never knew she had, and to find love in the most unexpected ways? Grace was at the pinnacle of her career, a star ballerina whose every move captivated audiences. Her life revolved around the stage, each performance a testament to her dedication and passion. But one fateful evening, during a routine rehearsal, everything changed in an instant. She was in the middle of a grand jeté when it happened. Her landing, usually so precise, faltered. A sharp pain shot through her leg, and she crumpled to the floor. The room fell silent. The music halted abruptly. Grace lay there, clutching her knee, her mind racing with fear and disbelief. The dancers around her rushed to help, their faces mirrors of her own shock. The doctors were called immediately. As she was carried off the stage, the reality of the situation began to sink in. In the emergency room, the sterile lights and the hushed tones of the medical staff only heightened her anxiety. The diagnosis was swift and brutal: a torn ligament, severe enough to jeopardize her dancing career. Grace's world seemed to collapse around her. The stage, the applause, the sheer joy of dancing. It all felt like it was slipping away. She spent the following days in a haze of pain and medication, haunted by the uncertainty of her future. The fear of never dancing again loomed large, casting a shadow over her once bright spirit. Her colleagues and friends visited, offering words of encouragement and support, but it all felt distant. The person who lived and breathed dance was now confined to a bed, her leg immobilized, her heart heavy with doubt. She couldn't help but replay the moment over and over in her mind, searching for what went wrong, grappling with the overwhelming sense of loss. It was during one of these dark moments that she met Alex, the physiotherapist assigned to her case. His approach was calm and reassuring, a stark contrast to the turmoil she felt inside. He looked at her not with pity, but with determination. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice steady. "We're going to get you back on your feet." Grace wasn't sure if she believed him, but there was something in his eyes, a spark of hope that she desperately wanted to cling to. The road ahead was uncertain and fraught with challenges, but for the first time since the fall, Grace felt a glimmer of possibility. The journey of recovery was about to begin, and with it, the chance to rediscover not just her ability to dance, but her resilience and strength. Grace's days in recovery were a roller coaster of emotions. The initial shock of her injury gave way to a grinding routine of physical therapy and rehabilitation. Every morning, she woke up to a grueling schedule of exercises designed to strengthen her leg and restore her mobility. Pain was relentless, a constant reminder of the fragility of her dreams. Alex, her physiotherapist, was a steady presence by her side. His methods were rigorous, but his encouragement never wavered. "One step at a time, Grace," he would say, guiding her through each difficult session. There were days when progress seemed impossible, and Grace found herself on the verge of giving up. The despair of her situation weighed heavily on her spirit, making each small victory feel insignificant. But Alex refused to let her succumb to defeat. He introduced new techniques, innovative exercises that pushed her limits but also offered glimpses of hope. Slowly, painfully, Grace began to see progress. The milestones were small but significant, being able to stand without support, taking her first tentative steps. Each achievement, no matter how minor, was celebrated as a victory. Despite the physical improvements, the emotional toll was immense. Grace often found herself struggling with feelings of inadequacy and fear. What if she could never dance again? What if all this effort was in vain? These thoughts haunted her, making the journey even more challenging. Alex understood her struggle and provided more than just physical support. He listened to her fears, shared stories of other athletes who had overcome similar injuries, and constantly reminded her of her strength. One particularly difficult day, Grace broke down during a session. The frustration and pain became too much to bear. She sobbed uncontrollably, feeling the weight of her uncertain future crushing her. Alex sat beside her, letting her cry, and when she finally looked up, his eyes were filled with empathy. "Grace, it's okay to feel this way," he said softly. "Recovery isn't just about healing your body. It's about rebuilding your spirit. You have the heart of a dancer, and that won't be taken away by this injury. We'll get through this together." His words resonated deeply with Grace. She realized that the road to recovery wasn't just about regaining her physical abilities, but also about finding the strength within herself to overcome despair. With renewed determination, she tackled her therapy sessions, each day pushing a little harder, fighting a little more. As weeks turned into months, Grace's progress became undeniable. She was regaining her strength, her confidence slowly rebuilding. The once daunting exercises became manageable, and her movements grew more fluid. The support from Alex and her friends, coupled with her own resilience, fueled her determination to dance again. The journey was far from over, but Grace had learned to find hope in the darkest moments. She discovered a newfound appreciation for her passion and the strength that lay within her. With each step, she moved closer to the stage, not just as a dancer recovering from an injury, but as a person who had fought and triumphed over despair. From the moment Alex stepped into Grace's life, he became a pillar of support she never knew she needed. Alex wasn't just any physiotherapist. He had a unique approach that combined rigorous training with genuine empathy. His calm demeanor and unwavering dedication set him apart. Their first meeting was unremarkable on the surface. Alex introduced himself with a warm smile and a firm handshake, promising to help Grace get back on her feet. Skeptical at first, Grace couldn't imagine how this seemingly ordinary man could make a difference in her shattered world. But Alex's quiet confidence and the way he listened to her fears began to chip away at her doubts. Alex's methods were both challenging and creative. He tailored exercises specifically for Grace, pushing her limits while ensuring she didn't overstrain herself. There were days when she felt she couldn't go on, but Alex's encouraging words and steadfast belief in her abilities kept her moving forward. "You're stronger than you think, Grace," he would remind her, his voice a steady anchor in the storm of her emotions. But Alex's support went beyond the physical. He understood the psychological toll the injury had taken on Grace. During their sessions, he would ask about her dreams, her fears, and her life outside of dance. These conversations, woven into the fabric of their therapy, helped Grace confront the emotional scars left by her injury. One rainy afternoon, Alex shared his own story. He had once been an athlete, a rising star in track and field, until a devastating injury ended his career. The pain and frustration he felt mirrored Grace's own struggle. But instead of giving up, Alex had channeled his passion into helping others recover. His journey from despair to purpose resonated deeply with Grace, creating a bond of mutual understanding. Their relationship began to evolve. Grace found herself looking forward to their sessions, not just for the physical progress, but for the connection they shared. Alex's unwavering belief in her abilities reignited her own self-confidence. He celebrated her victories, no matter how small, and stood by her during setbacks, always ready with a plan to overcome the next obstacle. As weeks turned into months, Grace noticed a change in herself. She was no longer the defeated dancer who had feared her dreams were over. She was becoming stronger, both physically and mentally. The exercises that once seemed impossible were now part of her daily routine, each one bringing her closer to the stage. Alex's support had become an integral part of her recovery. He wasn't just helping her heal. He was helping her rediscover her love for dance and her belief in herself. Grace began to see her injury not as the end of her career, but as a new beginning, an opportunity to rebuild her life with a newfound appreciation for her art and the strength within her. In Alex, Grace found an unexpected ally, a guiding light in her darkest moments. His presence was a constant reminder that she wasn't alone in her journey. Together, they faced each challenge head-on, forging a path to recovery that was as much about healing the soul as it was about mending the body. Grace's journey toward recovery was filled with countless challenges, but it was also marked by moments of profound self-discovery. Each step she took, every exercise she mastered, was a testament to her resilience and determination. Early on, Grace struggled with self-doubt. The mirror, once a friend reflecting her flawless movements, now seemed like an adversary, highlighting her imperfections and limitations. Yet, every time she felt like giving up, Alex was there, pushing her gently but firmly. "You've got this, Grace," he'd say, his voice filled with conviction. His unwavering support became a lifeline. Gradually, Grace began to see progress. The simple act of standing unaided became a monumental achievement. Each small victory built upon the last, creating a foundation of strength and confidence. The days of feeling broken were slowly replaced by the realization that she was rebuilding herself, stronger than before. Alex introduced new exercises that challenged Grace in unexpected ways. They worked not only on her physical strength, but also on her mental fortitude. He encouraged her to visualize her goals, to see herself back on stage, performing with the same passion and grace she once had. These mental exercises were as grueling as the physical ones, but they ignited a spark within her. One evening, after a particularly tough session, Grace found herself alone in the practice room. She stood in front of the mirror, the familiar wooden bar under her hand. Slowly, she began to dance. Her movements were tentative at first, but as she continued, she felt a rush of emotions: fear, hope, determination. It was a dance of defiance, a statement that she was not defeated. As the weeks turned into months, Grace's progress became undeniable. She could feel the strength returning to her legs, the fluidity returning to her movements. The exercises that once seemed impossible were now part of her routine. Each day brought her closer to her ultimate goal, returning to the stage. But this journey was about more than just physical recovery. Grace was rediscovering her inner strength, fire that had driven her to become a ballerina in the first place. She realized that her love for dance went beyond the applause and the spotlight. It was a part of her soul, a way to express the deepest parts of herself. There were still tough days, moments when the pain and frustration threatened to overwhelm her. But Grace had learned to face these challenges head-on. She had developed a resilience that carried her through the darkest times. She found solace in her progress, in the support of Alex, and in her own unwavering determination. Grace's journey was not just about returning to dance. It was about finding herself again. She had been broken, but in the process of rebuilding, she discovered a strength she never knew she had. Each step, each movement was a testament to her resilience and her unyielding spirit. As she stood on the brink of returning to the stage, Grace knew that she was not the same dancer she had been before. She was stronger, more passionate, and more determined. She had faced her fears, conquered her doubts, and rediscovered the fire within her. And now, she was ready to let that fire shine, to dance not just for the audience, but for herself. The day had finally arrived. Grace stood backstage, her heart pounding with a mix of nerves and excitement. The journey had been long and arduous, but she was here, about to step back onto the stage that she thought she had lost forever. The lights, the hushed murmurs of the audience, the familiar scent of the theater. All of it felt like coming home. Alex was there, just off to the side, his supportive presence a steadying force. He gave her a nod and a reassuring smile, a silent message that she could do this. Grace took a deep breath, centering herself. This performance was not just a return to dance. It was a celebration of her strength, resilience, and the love that had carried her through. The music began, and Grace took her first step onto the stage. The spotlight found her, and the audience held its breath. She moved with a grace and confidence that belied the months of pain and struggle. Every movement was infused with a depth of emotion that could only come from having faced and overcome her greatest challenges. As she danced, Grace felt a profound connection to the audience. She could sense their support, their belief in her, and it fueled her performance. Each leap, each turn was a testament to her journey, a story told through movement. She wasn't just dancing for herself. She was dancing for everyone who had ever faced adversity and fought their way back. In the wings, Alex watched with pride. He had seen every step of her recovery, from the darkest days to this triumphant moment. His heart swelled with admiration for the woman who had not only reclaimed her passion, but had also found new strength and purpose along the way. Their bond had grown deeper, a partnership built on trust, support, and an unwavering belief in each other. The performance reached its climax, and Grace executed the final sequence with a breathtaking combination of power and elegance. As the last note of the music faded, there was a moment of silence, a collective pause as the audience absorbed what they had just witnessed. Then, the applause erupted, a thunderous ovation that echoed through the theater. Grace stood in the center of the stage, breathing heavily, her heart full. Tears of joy filled her eyes as she took in the standing ovation. She had done it. She had overcome the injury, the doubts, the fears. She had danced not just with her body, but with her soul. After the curtain fell, Grace found Alex waiting for her. Without a word, she threw her arms around him, hugging him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "I couldn't have done this without you." Alex hugged her back, his own eyes glistening. "You did this, Grace. You found the strength within yourself. I just helped you see it." Their embrace was a moment of pure connection, a culmination of their journey together. It was a triumph not just of dance, but of love. Love for the art, love for the journey, and love for each other. As they left the theater, hand in hand, Grace felt an overwhelming sense of peace and fulfillment. She knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter. With Alex by her side and her love for dance burning brighter than ever, she was ready to face whatever the future held. Grace's return to the stage was more than a comeback. It was a powerful affirmation of the human spirit's ability to overcome, to heal, and to find joy in the most unexpected places. It was the triumph of love and dance, a story that would inspire and resonate with all who heard it.